Good morning and welcome everybody that's here early to the crypto show, the crypto mining show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the point of the view of a cryptocurrency miner. We botched that one up. I think it's a little earlier than normal. I have to head off today and be somewhere at 10 a.m. So we got to get the show pretty much on the road and done before then, which is why we're early today. So everybody that's watching later that's wondering what happened to the show at the regular schedulely timed broadcast at 9:45 a.m. Well, it happened earlier because we are going to basically be out of pocket. Today, we're going to talk about hackers demand $1 million for the Nvidia light hash rate 100% unlock. We're going to be talking about an opinion piece. Bitcoiners were right. Weaponized finance just created a post-dollar planet. We're looking at the rise of Bitcoin yet again. And then we're going to be talking about, as opposed to that, Ukraine government cancels AirDrop ahead of scheduled snapshot. So we're going to be taking a look at that as well as the crypto mining markets and our profitability, etc. See what's going on there. And then we will get to questions and answers at the end of the show. But before we get into it, here's a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with a purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICMinerValue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and use promo code FREESHIPPING2021 for free shipping on your order. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and hop into the first article for the day. Hackers demand $1 million for Nvidia light hash rate bypass, still threatening to leak the source code. Now, we have talked about the hack, their threat of releasing it if Nvidia doesn't release it themselves. Now it seems like we're getting a little more to the story. We're talking about $1 million for this light hash rate bypass. Are they asking other people? Are they asking Nvidia? Will they keep it secret? Let's go ahead and dive into the article and find out. It's coming from WCCF Tech and written by Jason Wilson. For the last 5 days, Nvidia has been under attack by the South American hacking group Lapsus, which declares confidential details about Nvidia's light hash rate cryptocurrency mining limiter, the company's GeForce RTX 30 series graphics card. There we go. That sentence was a little rough. The group formally stated it would provide access to the software and firmware data that fosters light hash rate. The group says that unless Nvidia pays upwards of $1 million, they will sell the software bypass tool to the highest bidder. This was initially reported by the online tech news site PC Magazine. Nvidia light hash rate lessens mining capabilities by as much as 50%. The new bypass by Lapsus would remove the limiter from Ethereum mining performance, allowing full use of the graphics card technology to boost Ethereum mining. Whereas this is great news for crypto mining users, the primary basis for initiating the light hash rate was to lessen the popularity of the company's GeForce RTX 30 graphics card to the crypto mining community, allowing for more stockpile to be sold for gamers and enthusiasts alike. However, with GPU-based Ethereum mining still prevailing in the current marketplace, the company's GeForce RTX 30 reserves stay stagnant. Some select GeForce RTX 30 graphics cards continue to sell for double their initial MSRP on eBay and others. This practice is even with GPU prices dropping since earlier this year. Here's the post. It says, Lapsus, the only real way to buy our light hash rate bypass is to DM us on Telegram. We don't have any other socials. Reply to one of admin message to discuss about minimum price 1 million USD and percentage of fee. Wow, that's a lot. This is the effing flashless way. When the source code will be leaked, if Nvidia don't listen to us, you will be able to make your own firmware, but we won't be responsible for any problems. Flash is always risky, and as we said, we won't give pre-built firmwares, but you will have the source code. Ask us questions if you want. That's really obviously, not very good English. It's hard to read through that. There are plenty of tools to help increase the hash rate by slightly bypassing the light hash rate of the graphics card for certain Ampere cards. The current ransom price of $1 million for the light hash rate bypass tool seems minuscule at the moment. So in turn, Nvidia would probably not activate some measures to appease the hacking group and pay the asking amount to unlock their card's hash rate capability fully. I mean, you have to have a large enough farm of light hash rate GPUs to actually pay this off before Ethereum moves to proof of stake, theoretically, right? That's kind of the deal. Nvidia has until Friday to respond, or Lapsus will release the complete silicon graphics and computer chipset files for all recent Nvidia GPUs, including the RTX 3090 Ti and upcoming revisions. With this methodology, Lapsus has increased the demands from Nvidia by forcing the company to offer their drivers for open source ability on every platform available currently and into the future, similar to AMD's current practice of transparency with their graphics drivers. I mean, not all bad. As far as like a bad thing doesn't always have to result in bad things. This could result in some very good things for the GPU market in general. I think as far as like open source, I've always been very pro open source. I don't think that going about it the way of forcing a company to do it is necessarily the right way to do it. But like I said, a bad thing doesn't necessarily always result in bad things. I mean, for the company, sure. But the current proof of stake also affects the prestige of graphics cards for Ethereum mining, caused by the upcoming transition to Ethereum 2.0, nicknamed the merge later this year. So miners would have a limited window to make back their $1 million outlay to Lapsus given the rough seas ahead for Ethereum mining. Lapsus is continuing the group's threats to Nvidia by claiming to release the source code for the Nvidia deep learning super sampling technology. And that would be a big one, by the way, found in their graphics card technology. The group makes these continued claims from the speculated 1 terabyte of data hacked from Nvidia, covering undisclosed information, covering upcoming Ada, Blackwell, and Hopper graphics card technologies. Nvidia stated that the company is aware of a cybersecurity incident which impacted IT resources, and we are aware that the threat actor took employee credentials and some Nvidia proprietary information from our systems and has begun leaking it online. Our team is working on analyzing that information. We do not anticipate any disruption to our business or ability to serve our customers as a result of the incident. We have less than 48 hours to see what will happen to Nvidia and the hacker group Lapsus. I mean, they could go on for longer than 48 hours if they start negotiations. This is pretty common with any type of hack. So part of my previous work as a cloud solution specialist was, of course, helping manage and recover from basically ransomware attacks, not dissimilar from this. Usually there were backups, you recovered the backups, and then you went through and you had some sort of conversation with the hacking group about what information they had and if you actually wanted to pay them to keep that information secure, and etc. And there are regulations surrounding this as far as from governing bodies and so on about what information can't get out and what information can. And if Nvidia is at the point to where there's no private employee information outside of the credentials just specifically for their systems, then they may not have to do anything from a regulation standpoint. And at this point, it's just a negotiation between them and what information they don't want to be released and so on. Now, as far as the light hash rate technology stuff goes and releasing that, Nvidia might be thinking, well, we don't really care at this point. We're close enough to Ethereum mining being over. Go ahead and let it fly. And we'll figure out some sort of new hash rate locks that apply to multiple algorithms, possibly, right? There are big points here that would be, I think, important for them to take a look at would, of course, be the drivers, specifically drivers for future generation GPUs like Ada Lovelace, etc., for fear of Intel and AMD as competitors getting a hold of basically what could be technology that would help them catch up or surpass Nvidia in market share. And that's where, you know, those negotiations are probably going to go on a little bit longer. The goal of typically the hackers in this case is to force a short decision, a very quick decision, so that they can get in and out as quickly as possible. And typically the goal for the company is to lengthen out that decision process as far as possible. So not only do they have a chance of obtaining more information about who the hackers are and filing, of course, legal proceedings against them, but also just so that they can have enough time to actually fully analyze the data that was leaked. This is how it's gone pretty much every single time on any kind of internal communications that I've been a part of in the past surrounding these types of attacks, and especially in regard to information. So if you guys aren't aware of how that process goes, this isn't abnormal at all. This is actually pretty common, very common across the board for large companies that get basically compromised. So there you go. Hope that catches you guys up on there. From our perspective as miners, what are we hoping for? I mean, sort of hoping for, right, some sort of light hash rate 100% unlock. That would be cool. You're going to have to be very careful because since everybody knows this is the threat and potentially out there, there is a potential for bad actors to inject some sort of fake malware into a fake flashing hack and so on, not dissimilar to what we saw earlier this month or last month in February with the 100% unlock that basically Chump Change and all those guys had talked about and found the viruses on and so on, and that we had talked about on this channel to be careful with. That can happen again right now, and it's kind of perfect time for striking. It would have been a lot better, I think, for the original malware to have been released during this time frame. I bet he's kicking himself like, dang, I could have gotten people on that if I would have waited a couple more weeks. That's what I would be thinking if I was him. So it's pretty funny. Let's talking about, look, when I wake up early, apparently my brain is not kicked in. It's kicked into like alternate world, into dream state. So apparently I just start talking nonsense and stumble over my words like POTUS. Let's go ahead and get into an opinion piece for today. It's going to be Bitcoiners were right. Weaponized finance just created a post-dollar planet. This is, to be clear, an opinion piece from CoinDesk. I want to read it because I'm super curious about the opinion in general and what they're thinking as far as how this shaped out. From my perspective, as we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about the principles and the fundamentals and what it's here to do. Is it true that what we are seeing is the perfect use case for cryptocurrency and specifically Bitcoin at this point with, of course, all of the geopolitical struggles that are going on between Ukraine and Russia and so on? And then let's just see what other people are thinking about it. I'm going to get some more water actually instead of this gamer set because my mouth is dry. I have not seen full code released yet. Bill B, by the way. But let's get into this opinion piece. Vladimir Putin's Russia is facing a wave of truly unprecedented financial sanctions in retaliation for its widely scorned invasion of Ukraine. The sanctions have suddenly revealed the massive power that lay dormant in the unified global banking system for decades, but it likely also marks the beginning of that power's end and the dawn of something more fragmented. Russia's dependence on systems like Swift bank messaging, correspondent bank, and Apple Pay is a product of the global dominance of a unified market capitalist status quo. This status quo represents the neoliberal end of history that was widely presumed to have arrived with the fall of the Soviet Union. But there may be no better sign of the end of history than the weaponized weaponization of finance happening right now. The scope of sanctions hitting Russia over the last week has showcased the incredible web of nested cross-border interdependencies that make up the fabric of essentially every contemporary society and their ultimate fragility. Some Russian banks have been disconnected from the SWIFT messaging system, crucial to international transfers. Shares in one of Russia's largest banks collapsed 95% on the London Stock Exchange. The ruble has declined by roughly 50% against the dollar in just a week, a body blow to the Russian economy that would have a long-lasting effect, even if it is in a short-term dip, which it won't be, is what they say. That's opinion. Never add that. Please get better at writing articles. Trade restrictions. This is an opinion piece, so it can be here, by the way. It's just, anyways. Trade restrictions are looking just as devastating. Taiwan has said it will halt semiconductor exports to Russia. Industry observers believe the Russian commercial air fleet, made up largely of Boeing and Airbus planes, is 2 to 3 weeks away from complete shutdown because of an embargo on parts. Apple Pay and other consumer payment services have been cut off for some customers, reportedly causing disruptions, including slowdowns in Moscow's subway system. The total impact reaches down into the very guts of Russian society. It was seemingly not much of an exaggeration. Then, when France's finance minister promised on Tuesday, March 1st, that we are going to cause the collapse of the Russian economy, end quote. What are we into, by the way, guys? Because this is a little different. I did want to talk about this. A lot of people have been talking about this for years and years and years and years. And I think like the Trump administration was the first presidential administration to really acknowledge it. But it is this new warfare. It's not necessarily, obviously, traditional warfare is being played out here as well between Russia and Ukraine. But the real new kind of warfare here is economic warfare, and China's kind of leading that play, right? And we've talked about that before, and I think that's why in China you see a move to more and more centralization, because controlling that economic power, whether it be around manufacturing of computer chips or basically having your own CBDC that allows you to control the public through what they are and are not allowed to buy. And then on an international relations stage, basically aiming to take down the economy of different countries. Now, whether or not you agree with, basically France targeting Russia and taking down their economy or making this type of statement, what you should come to the realization of is that this is the new stage of warfare, right? There's always been economic warfare played out, but I think that it's going to be a lot more relevant than, say, wars of the past, maybe a World War I or a World War II, where there's a lot more boots on ground, because if you can destroy the economy of any given country, then there's essentially a lot less boots on ground warfare that's going to take place. All of this should be considered in a longer historical context. Until recently, such opportunities for disruption simply didn't exist. And there you go. So they're kind of pointing it out. SWIFT was not created until 1978. As recently as the middle of the 20th century, international banking still regularly involved shipping large amounts of gold around on boats. And it's gone. The most frankly insane element of the sanctions, though, is the freezing of the global foreign exchange reserves of Russia's central bank. This is possible because, as London School of Economics visiting fellow Usman Manding, I don't know the last word, I believe I got that one correct though, explained to the Financial Times, foreign exchange reserves are not held by central banks, but instead by other banks around the world. Securities and money never move. Everything is external. This is believed to have affected fully half of the reserve holdings of Russia's central bank, which recently totaled more than $630 billion. Not your keys, not your gold, bro. Not your keys, not your gold. You gotta get that in-house. Say, ship that to me on a boat, sir. I want that gold on a boat. I need it over here before we start World War III. I need that gold in my borders. That's where I need it. Not your keys, not your gold, sir. These sizable reserves, according to the National Public Radio, were part of a long-term plan to make Russia sanction-proof. This strongly suggests that Putin has made a massive geopolitical miscalculation about the nature of the global financial system. Russia has behaved as if it trusted European and American central banks to continue honoring its reserves even after an invasion of Ukraine. This would have allowed Russia to continue propping up the value of the ruble, among other things, for months, even in the face of sanctions. Russia has refused to recognize the sovereignty and property rights of Ukraine, so it has few legs to stand on while complaining about having its lunch money stolen. But these sanctions will also permanently undermine the widespread assumption that global banking is merely neutral and rules-based system. Exactly what you are seeing here is a complete breakdown of the traditional fiat system, and it is out there in the public for everyone to see. So, whether or not you agree with what Russia is doing, or you think that they should be punished in this manner, if you think this is good, you should be aware that this can be done to anybody. Right? This is basically the whole hand is shown. We are now aware of the fragility of these financial institutions, what they're willing to do when you don't agree with them. And it is very important to understand this as it pertains to Bitcoin and its fundamentals, which are completely opposite of the way this traditional system functions, right? So Adam Tooze, writing in Chartbook, argues that to do this, reserves freeze to a fellow central bank involves breaking the assumption of sovereign equality and the common interest in upholding the rights to property. That's you know, head of the nail, hammer, done. I mean, that's it. That's it. That's all we need to know. The sanctions have driven home that the global banking system, like most monetary systems, amounts to a way to keep track of what society thinks you deserve. And there you go. This is where we start shifting into, on an individual level, basically needing to be aware of a shift in that thinking away from basically a way to keep track of what society thinks you deserve. There's a lot of talk about central bank financing, right? Or central bank digital currencies, excuse me. And even in the UK, what they were talking about, and they've even said out loud, is that because it's programmable, they would basically be able to allow companies and the government to determine what you can and can't buy on an individual level. So it goes even further and gets more and more granular if we allow CBDCs to come into place and we don't push for a decentralized form of this. Okay? This is an excellent way to think about the yen for hard money that motivates many Bitcoiners. While there are ways for nation states to restrict the movement of Bitcoin, such as enjoining its sale via exchanges, Bitcoin stored in an on-chain wallet cannot be seized or frozen by the kind of decrees that have cut Russia off at the knees. Bitcoin would be described as a digital bearer instrument and can be moved, bought, and held without third parties or intermediaries outside of its own network. This gives new resonance to characterizations of Bitcoin as digital gold. Gold has always been a particularly useful instrument during wartime or other disruptions because its value is considered inherent to the object. Gold rose nearly 10% in February among the rumors of war. Bitcoin is far more mobile than gold, but also has some disadvantages. In particular, gold has no memory, while the transaction history of each Bitcoin is preserved on the blockchain. That presents a real potential problem for the trade in formerly dirty coins, which could wind up blacklisted by mainstream exchanges, even after they're no longer owned by a global pariah. The other thing to note there is that does bring up the question of course, privacy coins, things like Monero, things along those lines, Zcash, so on. What the current ability of governments and agencies to actually find and track those particular coins. We have some questions surrounding that, with the hack that we talked about. Was it, I forget which hack now, but the TikTok lady and so on. They had tried to obfuscate it through privacy coins and so on. Didn't seem to work. Was that a problem with the actual hackers themselves, more than likely? Or do they have some tracking available for these privacy coins? Also, is there going to be a resurgence of privacy coins? See, back in like 2016 and that bull run through 2018, privacy coins were really taking off because everything back then was still based on the fundamentals of Bitcoin and not based on NFTs and making a bunch of money real quick. So there is that distinction between the two bull run cycles and what's driven them, which is interesting. Maybe we sway back to those fundamentals again and that gets prioritized. If so, keep an eye on some of these privacy coins. It should be interesting. Still, what we're seeing is a significant vindication of underlying skepticism of traditional banking that drives many in crypto, and particularly those committed to Bitcoin specifically. It is arguably the exclamation point after years of smaller examples of financial sanctions against groups ranging from sex workers to Canadian truckers. Wow. 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 You're gonna put those two in the same sentence? Wow. Come on. All right, that doesn't mean Bitcoiners are dancing in the streets, though, any more than someone warning about the U.S. infrastructure deficit should celebrate when a bridge collapses. While Bitcoin is a useful object lesson and model for what a neutral global payment system could look like, it is unlikely that the near future will see huge states using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies to depart the banking system status quo. Instead, there is considerable speculation among finance professionals that Russia could begin conducting trade using China's renminbi and banking infrastructure. And see, that would be the shift in the wrong direction. But let's think about this for a second too. If Russia moved towards China's central bank digital currency, it could be a positive thing for the rest of the population. You see, what we also have to deal with is public perception. And they could use this use case if Russia starts heavily utilizing basically Bitcoin at this point, or even any other privacy coin, to demonize cryptocurrency and push the rest of the world towards some sort of centralized, because you don't want this to happen again with Russia, basically being able to get around our sanctions with Bitcoin. You don't want that to happen, do you? That's very scary. That would be bad. You wouldn't want that. Let's go ahead and go this route and centralize it all, right? If we have the opposite happen here, we see basically Russia join in with China and their central bank digital currency. They get more centralized. Hopefully what that means is the rest of the world would wake up and be like, okay, cool. Well, we don't want to do that. So let's push further into Bitcoin. This is going to be the emotional tie and the arguments that start getting played out here that will either push us towards more centralization or push us more towards decentralization. And regardless, right, it's just the nature that it will be, because humans are emotional beings, right? And that's just kind of the way it is. Though the dollar is currently surging as a safe haven, a Russian move to RMB could significantly accelerate the ongoing decline of the dollar's global dominance. That would be a major step towards the repolarization of a world we once thought of as geopolitically flat, or just proof that the dream of neoliberal universality was a delusion all along. And I'd say it was a delusion all along, and I think that people that were participating within cryptocurrency were aware of this, and that was the reason why the Bitcoin fundamentals are built the way they are, right? The rest of the world's waking up to all these intricacies, especially surrounding cryptocurrency, the importance of preaching the fundamentals of Bitcoin to your neighbor, to the guy in the sauna, to the guy at the gym, that sort of thing. When they get confused about what it is, when they say, oh yeah, I bought some Shiba Inu waiting for it to skyrocket, say that's not what this is about. Let's go back. Let's talk about what this is about real quick, okay? This isn't necessarily about making a ton of money, right? If you want to validate the network, if you want a way to actually work in the business, we can start talking about that. But if we're talking about specifically digital currencies and their purpose, then let's roll back to the fundamentals. Let me tell you a story about a man named Satoshi Nakamoto and this paper he wrote. That's what you need to be doing, all right? Let's talk about Ukraine government cancels airdrop ahead of scheduled snapshot. Boom. Back to back to back. The Ukrainian government has canceled a planned crypto airdrop as the Russian invasion continues. The announcement was made by the country's deputy prime minister and minister of digital transformation via his Twitter account on via his verified Twitter account on Thursday. After careful consideration, we decided to cancel airdrop. Every day, there are more and more people willing to help Ukraine to fight back the aggression, end quote, Fedorov tweeted. Fedorov said the country will announce non-fungible tokens to support Ukrainian armed forces, but emphasized that they do not have plans to issue any fungible tokens. NFTs are digital assets on a blockchain that represent ownership of virtual or physical items. The airdrop was initially announced on Wednesday on the country's official Twitter account, following which government officials did not release any further information or announcements regarding the event scheduled for Thursday. Government officials also did not respond to CoinDesk's multiple requests for comments since the initial announcement. I think they're a little busy, CoinDesk. Look, they're probably a little bit busy. I'm just saying, give them some time. Either on Thursday, it appeared as though, early on Thursday, it appeared as though an airdrop was underway, but it later became apparent that a third party may have been spoofing the much anticipated event. According to Fedorov's most recent update on Telegram, the Ukrainian government has raised around $30 million since it began accepting crypto donations last Friday. The government has been raising funds via a range of cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ether, and Polkadot's DOT. So there you go. That's not happening. No plans. All right. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. There's one more that I did want to talk about that I saw here. Let's go back real quick. We see Bitcoin a little bit in red, Ethereum in red right now as well. Don't start playing that video, please. There was one more. Oh, this is new. Well, we definitely need to see what's going on here. So let's talk about this. Bitcoin mining rig maker Canaan surges after strong results and guidance. All right. Hangzhou-based Canaan, one of the industry's largest manufacturers of crypto mining machines, is up 16% in pre-market action after reporting a 60% increase in revenue to $342.8 million in the fourth quarter. The company has previously guided for sequential revenue to rise in the 35 to 50% range. Quote, the higher than expected top line result was powered by our business development efforts, which drove the growth of our customer base, enabling us to achieve a larger proportion of spot sales with a higher averaging sale price, end quote, said CFO Jin Chang. There we go. The company's total computing power sold was 7.7 million terahash in the fourth quarter, up about 15% from 6.7 million terahash a second previously. I'd be curious what their Q1 2022 numbers are going to be, though. Canaan expects its total net revenues for the first quarter of 2022 to be higher. Okay, there we go. By 275 to 300% year over year to RMB 1,500 million to RMB 16 million. 1,600 million. There you go. What does that mean? I think a lot of people are moving into Bitcoin mining. It makes a lot of sense. It does look like a lot of people are pushing the brakes, including myself, on some GPU mining. Does that mean you should stop GPU mining? I think no. For home miners, it makes the most sense still to start with GPU mining. And I do think that there are some options that are going to be there. We are going to have to worry about the amount of hash rate coming off of Ethereum, how much of it is going to be ASICs and so on. We've preached this a whole bunch. Please watch some of those videos. and just stay frosty out there. None of this is financial advice, of course, but as we look at the markets and see what's happening, it definitely looks like there is a shift from the mining perspective into Bitcoin, and it's only growing. Bitcoin mining is growing. It looks like they're projected to grow even further for Q1, and that's what we see. There was an NFT article that I wanted to talk about, and I couldn't find it. That was basically, I'll try to find it again for tomorrow. Let's go ahead and talk about mining profitability for the day. And it's not looking great for me necessarily for the day. We have an unpaid balance of 0.02. I was looking at the last month figures. This is kind of weird. If I look at the amount of ETH that it says we earned, you can see here we're at 0.076, 0.06, 0.077. 0.068. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get like better estimates from Crazy Pool. I think that the UI could help a little bit more. I know that they had messaged me and they said, you know, we could check out the payouts tab, or the payouts tab here for each daily earning. But if these daily earnings are true, they don't really match up to what I was actually getting paid out either. Right? So if we look at like 226, it says that we got the 0.1, and then on 227, the 0.7. I think maybe just this 226 is what's averaging us out a little bit better, and basically the total revenue has gone down day over day. So yesterday, according to this, we made 0.068 Ethereum at 5.5 gigahash. I'd have to go calculate this out though, of course. So google.com, ETH to USD. I don't know. Google usually has an easier way to do this, but they don't. All right. So 199. So we are down, of course, on profitability yesterday. Let's go ahead and look at our, oh no. I have to go run by the farm as well because our Bitcoin miner right after the review has gone down. What time did this go down? 4 a.m. today, we had our Bitcoin miner go down. And yesterday we did still do the 0.0004, which is like around $20. That's pretty funny. I do mention what I think this problem is in the review, and that review comes out today. So check that out. Luck Pool, we've been mining essentially Varus coin. If we take a look at our earnings, our 24-hour is 2.6 versus coin, which is not bad, just a little extra. We have a 5800X, a 5600 XT, a Threadripper, and a 4770 here, and a 8700K. So, there you go. As far as that is concerned. Now, you say an earlier start is better, but I would beg to differ based on the viewer numbers, my good sir. So, unfortunately, what's good for you may not be good for everybody else. But that's fine. They can watch later, too, for today. Let's continue on. All right, so RTX 3090 profitability for the day. $3.84 on ETH after power cost of 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Cero kind of making a surge again at $2.40 a day after power. Ycash $2.42 a day after power. Ethereum Classic kind of beating out everything else at $2.32 a day after power. Keep an eye on this Classic. Easy to liquidate. Getting close to the merge. Being able to handle more and more hash rate. Looking good. Conflux $2.29 a day after power. And then from there, we really have to scroll down, you know. Let's fix Flux real quick. Flux with the corrected hash rate is at $2.40 a day after power. Cortex, $1.96 a day after power. Kapow, $1.73 a day after power for Ravencoin. Ergo, $1.97 a day after power. Let's go ahead and look at the RTX 2080 Ti. Calculate that out. And we have Ethereum at $1.80 a day after power. We have Zellhash here sitting at $1.68 a day after power if you're going through NiceHash. So we do have the reduction in rewards coming this month for the nodes, or not the rewards, but the total amount staked. And I think we're going to continue to see on and off, basically solo mining with NiceHash here as we move forward. Because as you see, it's almost a whole 10 cents more than just mining Flux directly. That tells me the market knows something about Flux. The market knows something about Flux. The traders are getting in. So pay attention to it. Conflux $1.39 a day after power. Cortex $1.46. Ravencoin $1.18. Let's take a look at Polaris. Calculate that out. You have NiceHash, or not NiceHash, Ethereum at 92 cents a day after power. Ethereum Classic 51 cents a day after power. Ravencoin 30 cents a day after power. If we look at profitability for ASIC miners, the Gold Shell KD6 is up about $15 to $20 a day at 136, still holding that first place. In a Silicon A11 in second at $93 a day. Gold Shell KD5 at $92.57. Antminer L7 at $43, and so on. So there you go. Let's take a look at the S19 Pro, $17.74 a day on mining rig rentals. I honestly think it's actually more than that because we're getting more than that on our particular rig. Let's see if BT Miners has any deals going on. They were the sponsor of the channel today. I know that they had reduced the price of the S19 Pro to $10,500 from $11,000. So you may want to take a look at that. On the KD box, they've reduced that to $5,300. I believe that's $200 cheaper than it was for the KD mining. And I think those are the best deals going on. Of course, the WhatsMiner M21S at 56 terahash for $3,800 is definitely one to keep an eye on if you're wanting to get into it kind of early, or not early, but if you want to get into Bitcoin mining and have a little bit of an experience with it, this is not a bad buy because you know, you're getting in kind of cheap. And like I said, most of the ASIC miners that I talk to call these things tanks. So I think you have a long time to mine with them, which would be interesting. Let's go ahead and get into questions and answers for the day. We got about 8 minutes and then I got to peace out. So boom, let's do it. Bam, let's roll. Super chats, always appreciated, never required, easiest to read. So I'll answer those questions first. Tagging at Son of a Tech would get you essentially answered next because it turns my name orange in chat and I can read it easier. Tony Manga says, good morning, Son of a Tech. I am looking at selling some of my GPUs for ASICs. What kind of ASIC would you recommend under 5,000 bucks? M21S. We just talked about it. Bill B says, that Son of a Tech, did they put out the full code? No. For the light hash rate unlock, 100%, not at this point. Queen of Random says, that Son of a Tech, what do you think about loading up on light hash rate cards and hope that the unlock will be released? I wouldn't load up on it in thinking that would be released. I wouldn't use that as my reasoning. But there is an argument for like 3080 Ti's, regardless, doing really well on Flux, right? So do that, right? Think of it from that perspective, not from the perspective of ETH full hash rate unlock when we're already talking about ETH moving to proof of stake, right? Just that would be how I would shift it in my brain and think about it more. Do we have any more questions? We got 7 minutes here and I gotta go. And now I gotta go fix my miner as well. But I'll have to go do this first and then go back and fix the miner. It's gonna be a fun day today, boys. Fun day. All right, well, not as lively in the questions and answers today as normal. That's understood because we only have 161 concurrent viewers compared to the 300 we normally have at our normal time, so that's okay. we might just not have a ton. Lucas Foss says, at Savatech, what's your advice? What'd be your advice be with the merge coming up for people in Germany or anywhere else that pays 34 cents a kilowatt hour? Reduce your power costs. That's what you want to do. Yeti Crap says, at Savatech, you're running your T17 on Hive. Will the coin miner take a Hive flash? Not currently, no, and that's covered in the review. Bud Miner says, at Savatech, congrats on the 1 year, man. Thanks, dude. I enjoy it. I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to go take my daughter to a doctor's appointment, and then we will be having, you know, the regular releases. We're looking at like 3 to 4 videos a day right now, so stay tuned. Hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe. Make sure you stop by the channel and check all the videos out, because we are posting nonstop, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Thanks for watching. I will see you next Tuesday.